We have a beautiful Upanishad, and I would recommend strongly that you read it, called the Taittiriya Upanishad, which is on food. It says the highest dharma is the giving and growing of good food. And why is it the highest dharma? Because everything is food. Everything is something else's food. Ecology is a web of life. Everything is connected. And my PhD thesis was on hidden variables in quantum theory and non-locality, where quantum theory, the best of physics, is telling us everything is connected. Ecology tells us everything is connected. Spirituality tells us everything is connected. And yet a short time of bad thinking made us believe everything is separate. Worse, that everything is inert. Nature is dead. We are all inert. We are empty vessels, needing consumption for satisfaction. If you don't consume, you're nobody. The word consumption was the word for tuberculosis during the Middle Ages. You died of consumption. And now we're killing the planet of consumption. The only ailment for the Ganga is consumption of this wasteful culture. Yeah? We had the most delicious foods in this country, and then Pepsi thought, no, we got to get the market. And now everything is a Pepsi pack, a kurkure, a chips, eaten, thrown. Where's the cow? The cow is in here. But the Yamuna is here with all of her. Yeah? That's what the rivers are carrying, all of those packages and all of those pollution. Yeah? We don't need that. Fresh food, good food, local food, food as service, no packaging, no aluminium, no plastic. If we celebrate fresh and local and organic, packaged food will disappear, and with it the plastic packages. So food is a very important place to begin. And food begins with the seed, as life begins as the seed. I have spent so much of my time, in spite of my training in physics, trying to practice and promote ecological agriculture. Because there are three things that for me are a deep violation. The first violation is the idea that war chemicals are necessary for producing food. Every chemical we use in agriculture came out of war. Chemical fertilizers were produced in explosive factories. Pesticides were designed to kill humans, so when we had the Bhopal disaster of 1984, a pesticide plant leaked and killed 3,000 people in one night on the 2nd of December with the cold, where the smoke, with this cloud of pollution did not rise. 30,000 have died since then. We don't need poisons in our food. Just like we don't need plastics in the Ganga, we don't need poisons in the Ganga. All of those chemicals run off from the land into the waters. If they kill on land, they kill in the ocean. Too much fertilizer is creating what are called dead zones. If you look at the maps, they're produced by the United Nations Environment Program, everywhere where there's major agriculture, like the Mississippi, and then into the Gulf of Mexico, it's a big dead zone. The fertilizers are killing life in the ocean, and every year they're just expanding. The pesticides are killing marine life and fish life. The second thing about an agriculture that is violent is now genetically modified seeds. We don't need them. You don't need to manipulate the seed with toxic genes, claiming you're producing more food when you're not producing more food. We did a report last year, global report, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, US, Canada, India, a little bit of South Africa. These are the few countries where GMOs are grown. Nowhere has food production increased because of GMOs. Nowhere. And in fact, all of that production is of commodities. It's soya bean and corn. 70 to 80% of which goes to torture animals, because Animals like cows are herbivores, which means they like herbs. They like grass. They don't like grain. The way creation worked it out is we ate the grain, they ate the straw. We've never had shortages, they never had disease, we never had disease. Now 70% goes as grain to torture animals in factories, and the rest goes to biofuel as cars. 2% of the soya in the US is eaten by humans, and we are repeatedly told we need to produce more for food for humans. You're not feeding humans. That's not food. The same goes for corn. We're not producing more food through GMOs. We are using more chemicals. And worse, the technology, because it goes against nature, doesn't do a good job. If I'm giving this glass of water, it quenches my thirst. But if I spray a herbicide on a herbicide-tolerant seed with the argument that this is going to reduce the weeds, and instead I get super weeds, am I doing a good job or a bad job? Bad job. So I actually call these primitive technologies, because they're very primitive when assessed in the web of life, and they're extremely primitive when assessed in the objective of what you want to do. Much better way to control weeds and pests is to allow nature to do the work through biodiversity. You have biodiverse farms, pest predator balance, no pesticide. You have a lot of diversity, cover crops, you'll never get a weed. But the third reason the violence of this system is extremely troublesome to me is because there's only one reason why seeds are being manipulated at the genetic level. So that now the companies can say, I created the seed, I'm the inventor, I'm the creator, you pay me a rent and a royalty. And we laugh and joke in the movement and say GMO is now meaning God move over. Now, for a toxic company to say God move over is a double damage, because you're destroying the sacred and you're giving us a toxic world. When we can have the sacred, produce more food, allow life on this planet to prosper, get rid of disease, get rid of poverty, because all those chemicals and those royalties on seed means debt. Debt means more poverty. Because there's so many of you here from Brazil, I want to remind you the farmers of Brazil sued Monsanto $2.2 billion for royalties collected on farm-saved seed. In India, 270,000 farmers have committed suicide in the cotton belts, where they got into debt because of the royalty collection for the seed by Monsanto. 250,000 farmers, that's violence. So there is a continuum of violence that connects the violence to the Ganga, it connects the violence to our food and the land and the soil, and it connects violence to people. That rape that has been the news for more than a month now in Delhi, the gang rape of Delhi, first of all, it's not an isolated incident. It's just one among many, but this kind of became a story, but it was a human tragedy. But the rape of the earth and the rape of young women and old women and babies are all part of one mentality of violence and rape, which is what this new consciousness has to put behind. It's the only thing that can. And like there's a continuum of the violence, there is a continuum of the sacred. There's no boundary between sacred land. There's no boundary between the sacred in one tradition and another tradition. When it's sacred, it is a continuum, because it is about the divine feminine. It's when it's taken over by patriarchy and it's taken over by greed, and the combination I call capitalist patriarchy, then you get a double dose of toxic. You get the violence of patriarchy and you get a violence of greed, where everything is a throwaway object. Everything is a commodity. everything has a price, like water, but nothing has value. And what we say in the ecology movement is, some things in life are so precious, they are valueless. They have such high value that they're priceless. And what you're doing is, by putting a high price, you're making them valueless. You can't put a price on water, because water is not a commodity. And in the 2002, we started a very big movement to protect the Mother Ganga, because she was being commodified. Her water was going to be sold by the world's biggest water company called Suez in Delhi. We built up the movement starting from the Gangotri, did yatras all the way to Ganga Sagar, and to the World Bank chief, who was going to give $9 billion for water privatization to India. I carried a tiny pot, a little kumbh of Ganga Jal, and I gave it to him. And there were thousands of women outside with pots on their head, saying, our water is not for sale, our Ganga is not for sale. And I gave him this little pot. And I said, I want you to keep this near your bedside, so that every day you can remember that there's a large part of humanity which does not see the earth as a commodity to be exploited and polluted and destroyed. There's a large part of humanity that holds the Mother Ganga as sacred. Our mother is not for sale. And just as she is not for sale, she should not be the object of pollution. And that Swamiji has brought together not just the Ganga Action Parivar that has been formed in India, but all of you. And you're here because of your love for the Ganga, your love for creation, your love and deep commitment for a spiritual renewal. Out of a really degrading world we all live in, a world in which the economic model isn't even giving us economy anymore. It's failing. It's failing to the extent that half of Spain and half of Greece, the youth are unemployed. And when they come and talk to me, we talk about how we've got to create gardens, we've got to do organic farming, we've got to turn back to the earth as the ultimate ground of economy and work with her as co-creators and co-producers to have sustainability, to have justice. So no hands are without work, no mind is without creativity, and no heart is without love. We can have that world full of creativity and love if we organize it not around the greed and not around coins and cashes, but we organize it around the divine feminine, of whom we have a model right there. You know, I love the Ganga and I love the cow. And the source of the Ganga is Gomukh, the mouth of the cow. And our cow is going to tell us what she's eating these days. What are you eating? See? Did you see? Now what we need the cow to give us is the beautiful cow dung, healthy cow dung from a healthy diet that goes back to the soil. And we too are animals, like the cow. Our waste should be soil fertilizer. Our waste should not go into the Ganga. Our waste should fertilize the soil. We need to complete the cycles of life through the awareness of the divine feminine and of Shakti. Each of you is a source of Shakti. Our mother cow is a source of Shakti. The Ganga is a source of Shakti. When you realize it's about our Shakti and the Shakti of the universe and not how many dollars are at our command, you suddenly realize each of us is a source of power. Each of us can act. Each of us can make the change. So the Ganga is liberated, the cow is liberated, the seeds are liberated, our foods are liberated, our spirit and soul is liberated. It was a joy joining you today, and let's continue this work.